end up burnt, bruised, or bleeding if you do this job. But it'll cost you $800 to $1,200 if you pay somebody else to do it. If you're watching this and you search up by the code, you're probably having a similar problem as to what we're having here. You're seeing the triangle of death, check hybrid system, and of course that is the engine coolant pump, which happens to be underneath here where I had heard the noise the other day, and the noise went away. Well, if you can see down in there, well, I guess you can't, but I'm going to take this off so you can. So I took those 3 bolts off, and now you can see down in here, and this is the water pump. This water pump job, we could use the 12mm swivel, the 3/8 12mm with a hand ratchet. But what I found that works the easiest is the 1/4 inch air ratchet with the 1/4 inch deep well 12mm. This is just the right length to get around the height of the water pump and get down to the bolts. The fact that it's still straight makes it easier to break the bolts loose. And then of course the air spins them out pretty quick. Alright, of course I've got a drain pan under here that I cleaned out really well to capture the fluid. But one thing you got to really look out for when you're pulling these bolts out is there's not that much space in between here and the frame rail. And you've got to go and then quit with your air ratchet and get it out of the way, or your air ratchet is going to be trapped in there. And just go by hand the rest of the way with that bolt. Stick a socket on it and spin it. Now of course I pulled the hardest bolts out first, the ones across the bottom, and you cannot get the camera down in there or anywhere near where you can see anything and get both arms in there and get to those bolts. And that's what you have to do. You have to get down and dirty all the way to your elbows, both arms shoved down in there. One of the bolts is extra long right here, and of course it's back here near the bottom, not at the bottom but near the bottom. Back there it's extra long, and you have to reach around the back of the motor mount, between the firewall and the motor mount, and get way back in there and approach it from the rear of the vehicle. And look how long this one is too. Another really long one. This near the top top rear. And now we're about to get the last bolt. Again, this one's facing that piece of frame, so don't want to get trapped. Let's get the electrical plug off of here. There we go. Since this is the last bolt, that's why I left one of the top ones, because you want to put your easiest bolt last. And we're free. Before you try putting the water pump in there, you clean that gasket surface really well. Here's the old water pump. Here's the bolts. See, there's 2 long ones. And I put the link in the description of the video for this Aisin water pump. It does come from Japan. That packed it full of Japanese newspapers. It was wrapped up in this plastic bag too. I took it out of the bag already. And let me lay it down right beside this old one that we just took off of here. Of course you can see they are the same. Both spin freely. And this one says Aisin right on it. Toyota Aisin. Now, the reason it's a lot cheaper than the $500 one that says Toyota on it, see it says Aisin, is because they scratched off the Toyota, and it's the same water pump, but without the Toyota name on it. It's almost half the price. And yes, it does come with the new gasket and instructions in Japanese. So, but you've got this video here, so you have the instructions. You're watching them right now. There's a little divot in the gasket right there. Goes right there. And on the part of the gasket that goes down in here in the water pump, let's see if we can pull this up where you can see it. Turn it sideways. See all these divots right here? They go towards the water pump so that when you press it down in there, it stays down in there. This is just some medium grit Scotch-Brite. Some medium grit Scotch-Brite. And I'm going over the gasket surface with it. Yes, this is the same stuff you buy for your kitchen. Once you're done with the Scotch-Brite, you can finish off with a piece of cotton from an old sock or a old t-shirt or something you're going to throw away, or some paper towels. I prefer the cotton because paper towels can shed little pieces off and they can get in there, but the cotton has a tendency to stay together. You can see how good the surface looks now. That's going to give us a really good seal. I put the blue Loctite on them because they're small bolts and they're going into aluminum, so it's scary to think about torquing them really tight. You have to tilt a little angle here, get it to go down in. And then there is a pilot hole right in the center where the shaft goes in. Has to be lined up. It's the easiest bolt first, but do not tighten it, just finger tight. Get it run in there by fingers. Next bolt is one of the long ones. Again, you're just doing finger tight with these things because you have to have all of the bolts in before you ever tighten any single one bolt. Make sure all 6 of the bolts are in and twisted down finger tight. The second long one goes next. And the rest of them are these last 3 short ones, which I cannot get in there with the camera here in the way. I have to stick both arms way down in there, and the camera has got to go. Right back here near the crank pulley is the 6th bolt, and it's not actually a water pump bolt. If I'd looked at the new water pump and counted the bolt holes beforehand, I would have made the mistake of telling you there's 6 bolts. There's actually only 5. And the 6th one came out of the timing chain cover. It's one of the hardest ones to get to, and it's not necessary to take it loose. So if you just avoid that mistake, it'll be easier than what I was doing. Since you can't see down in there real good, I'm going to show you on the old water pump what I'm talking about. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts, not 6. The 6th one I took out was right in here. It goes to the timing chain cover. And like I said, it's down in there. It's really hard to get to. And it's hard to see whether you're taking a water pump bolt out. Well, you can't see it all. You have to feel down here. But it's hard to feel whether you're taking a water pump bolt or the timing cover bolt out. Now, this is a long bolt and this is a long bolt. These are the 2 that you can see from the top. The one towards the firewall is the longest one. Short one, short one, short one, long one, long one. And the one that came out of the timing chain cover is short. So if you do like I did and accidentally pull one out of the timing chain cover, it's a short one, goes right here. Don't forget to plug your connector back in. It is an electric water pump. It will not work with the connector not plugged in. Alright, these 3 bolts go here, here, and here. Make sure your threads look okay. They are 10mm heads. Now you need to refill your coolant system and then drive the vehicle around, let it cool off, then top it off again, then drive it around, let it cool off, and top it off again. You've got to repeat this process 3 to 5 times. To make this process easier, I take the old coolant, the drained out, and I put it in a container to get an idea of how much coolant came out of it. And then I put that much coolant in the reservoir if it'll fit, even if it overfills the reservoir a little bit, because I know that, you know, the air is going to replace a lot of that coolant and there's less topping off. That looks pretty nasty, so it's probably a good idea to do a coolant flush at this time. Of course, if you do a coolant flush, you're not going to know exactly how much came out of it. But if you don't and you end up with a stopped up heater core, now that's a whole nother job completely. Don't want to have to do a heater core. Now if you're new to the channel, we got lots of repair videos, both already on the channel. I think by the time this video was on, we're at 600 videos of repair videos on lots of different cars, including hybrids, Mustangs, Crown Vics, Ford modular engines, you name it, it's probably on there. Also show car vehicles, car shows. And one of our next videos is going to be changing all these corroded bus bars on the battery. We've also got some new suspension parts for the front of this Prius. And we've got videos on how to take all the seats out and put them back in. Just lots and lots of videos. Oh, and the cleaning the cooling fan out so you don't have to replace it. That would be another $200-300 if you didn't know how to clean it. We're also going to film doing the coils and the plugs on this Ford modular engine. Yes, this is the 5.4 liter that the plugs break off in. So we're going to tackle that sucker and have it all on film right here for you on Saneauto. And our videos show up every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock. And we are live every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, there are links to the parts and the tools that I use in the description.
Don't do anything I do in my videos, and don't even do anything I talk about in my videos.
Welcome to Saneauto. We're so glad you're here. We don't just do repairs and tool reviews.
Bienvenida a Saneauto. Nosotros no solamente hacemos reparaciones de autos.
We also film hot rods and mod rods, project cars, classic cars, antiques.
Nosotros también filmea autos antiguos, mod rods, hot rods, cualquiera.
We also like to take you with us to the car shows and the cruise-ins, so make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss anything.
Me gustaría llevarte con nosotros a los cruise-ins y car shows. Entonces, empuja ese botón y toca de campaña para que no pierda nada.
Hello! So no matter how hot, miserable, and uncomfortable it is, put a dust mask on, suck it up, Buttercup, and protect yourself. Whoa, look at that! Did you see that cloud? Oh, gee. It's like it's got a smoking problem.